So we're like, okay, God, are you just showing off for me? What do I need to hear from you that lets me know 100% that you have this? And he certainly did that.
Welcome to This Is My Story, a podcast of the Memorial Road Church of Christ. I'm your host, Shelley Eisen. This week, we are talking with Mike Wiley. Mike has survived multiple health issues that eventually prompted him to start the Touched by Cancer support group here at Memorial Road. He'll share his journey, the verses that mean so much to him, and the gesture he now shares with others to make sure they know he cares. Mike, thanks for joining us. Let's just jump right in. You're from Texas, so what brought you to Oklahoma?
Grandchildren. Yeah, we sent our kids to Oklahoma Christian, and they married and stayed. And, you know, the joke is you don't care where your children live, but you really care where your grandchildren live. So we moved up here to be near grandchildren.
Yeah, and you have how many?
8.
8 grandchildren.
3 in college. And then the youngest one is about to enter 4th grade.
Now, you recently retired, right? What was your career?
I was a consultant for churches, for religious organizations. So a local church, a camp, clinics, outreach ministries, anything related to a church, I was a consultant.
So what does that mean? Like, what do you do as a consultant?
Well, we help them do church, basically. So vision, mission, strategy, outreach, buildings, budgets, shoulder to cry on, all the things, that the local church will face.
Is that what you did for your whole career?
Mostly. I had a stint in banking. So I have a finance degree and then graduate degree from SMU that's in banking, but primarily I've worked for nonprofits, for foundations.
Now, you have started a support group here at Memorial Road. Tell me about that and tell me how that became a passion for you.
It's called Touched by Cancer. And my cancer story is 10 years old. And so we finally just realized that it might be nice to have other people to talk to, and they might like to talk to us. And so we got with the church office, with Mark and Andy, Jenny and Tasha, and we just kind of started brainstorming. So we've got 44 on the rolls, I think, and we usually have about 20 that show up at one of our monthly meetings. And the reason I did that is I have 3 scriptures that define my life, but one of them is 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4. And so I'm just going to read that for you so I don't mess it up too bad. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all of our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. So it's kind of a pay it forward thing.
Are you willing to share about your cancer journey for yourself?
You bet. Just almost 10 years ago, I heard 3 things in the same sentence that you never want to hear. Your name, leukemia, and MD Anderson. And so at that moment, the room started spinning, and I'm like, what in the world? How did this happen? Fortunately, Julianne was there, and so she was able to hear the rest of what the doctor had to say. And the doctor said, I want to send you to MD Anderson because what you have is called myodysplasia. And if it's left untreated, it will become leukemia. And so the doctor that I want to refer you to is the world's authority on this disease, on this blood cancer. And it's going to be hard to get in to see him because he's very busy and he travels and he lectures and all these things. Again, Julianne heard that. I did not. And so we get in the truck and we start driving around. And the first thing we said was, God has this. It doesn't matter if we get down there and they say, okay, I'm sorry, this is it. Or, by the way, this was a mistake, but God has this. And so that was the very first thing we started talking about. Then we started talking about, okay, we got to tell the kids. We got to tell my mom, church, and how are we going to do all this? And about that time, the phone rang. And so it's on speaker, of course. And I noticed on my dashboard that the number was a 713 area code. Well, being from Texas, I knew that 713 is Houston. And so we kind of looked at each other and thought, oh, there's no way. Well, answered it, put it on speaker, and the lady said, Mike, my name is so-and-so, and I'm from MD Anderson. And we just got this referral, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit. So, we're already shocked. And we said, okay. So she said, now tell me which doctor you want to see. Well, I didn't remember, of course, but Julianne did. So she gave her the name, and she said, okay, can you be here next week? So we're like, okay, God, are you just showing off for me? What do I need to hear from you that lets me know 100% that you have this? And he certainly did that. So we went the next week, got all the family on board, told them what was going on. We met with the doctor, and he said, well, within 5 years, I'm afraid you will have leukemia. But we have some clinical trials, and the one that I most often recommend is the hardest one to get into. But I want to submit your name. So we answered the questions and all these kind of things, and then he pushed his magic button, and the computer said, you're in it. So it was a 5-year clinical trial. So for those 5 years, every month, 5 days in a row, every month, I received chemotherapy. And then every quarter, I went to MD Anderson, and they would do a bone marrow biopsy to chart the progress of the disease. So we did that for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, at that meeting, and I was really tired of chemo, by the way, and all the bone marrow biopsies and all that. But you do what you got to do when you have cancer. So at that 5th year meeting, he said, well, we have really good news. The clinical trial has worked. Your numbers are stable. So we can move you from the regular chemotherapy that you've been getting to a pill 3 days a month. And you don't have to have any more bone marrow biopsies. So once again, God has just blessed that journey. So for the past 5 years, I've been doing the 3 days a month of chemo. This is, in fact, one of those chemo weeks. So I'm on my second day. I do it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The side effects from this oral medication are much better. I don't have all the things that go along with a regular chemo injection or infusion. So I've been doing that for 10 years. So I've had a lot of chemotherapy. Now, once those 3 days are over, I can usually rebuild my strength pretty quickly. And by that weekend, I'm somewhat normal.
Well, thanks for coming in during that window.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we've been dealing with that. And I had already talked to Mark Taylor about starting this group. We started talking about that a couple of years ago. But about 1 year ago, I went in for a routine colonoscopy, and no one expected anything because I've never had any issues. I didn't have any symptoms whatsoever. I've never smoked, had a drink, any of those kind of things that can be associated with any kind of cancer, but particularly colon cancer. And they called me back and said, well, we found a spot. And so we have a local oncologist here, and we really love her. And so when we went in to tell her, she took it as hard as we did. That's the kind of person she is. And I said, I really want to go to MD Anderson. And she said, I really want you to go to MD Anderson. So we did. We went to MD Anderson, and we have 2 specialists there. The surgeon is the surgeon in the world for colon cancer. And I had 3 surgeries last summer. There was an exploratory surgery, and then the main one, which was about a 10-hour surgery, and that's why my voice is so weak, because you have a tube down your throat that whole time, and it takes a long time to recover. And then about 10 weeks later, they had another one to reverse everything inside you and kind of put it back to normal. So that was during the summer. So maybe the comical part, and my wife can laugh at this, we spent our anniversary, Mother's Day, and her birthday at MD Anderson. And those were 3 different months, the spring and the summer of 24. But she's a great sport. She's a wonderful caregiver, and she never complained a bit. But that was our summer of 24.
That's a hard surgery on that part of your body.
It is. So as you know, the recovery is a long-term process, and I'm still doing that, still in the rehab process. And they say it takes at least a full year, if not longer.
So they were able to get everything, though?
They got everything out. They took out, there are 24 lymph nodes associated with that area, and they took all of those out, not a single sign of cancer there. I tell people they took about 180 yards of colon. Julianne says I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know how it feels when that happens. And there was nothing there. So they got all the margins, all the things that they wanted to do. Every 6 months now, I go back to MD Anderson, and they do another colonoscopy just to be on the safe side.
Well, so obviously that has been, the last 10 years have been very impactful with your health. And how has that part of your life impacted your faith? You talked a little bit about, you felt God had this.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, we've always had a deep faith. I've never had one of those faith crises that some people get, but it has deepened it at that. So as we were talking with Mark Taylor about starting this group, we really started about 2 years ago, but when this latest diagnosis came in, I just called him and said, look, I'm not in a place to do this. I've got to get this surgery done. I've got to get a little bit of rehab done. So that's why it's taken this long to get it started. But the church has been very supportive. The office, Jenny and Tasha, are always there for me, for our group. we just really wanted to pay it forward, to pay back maybe.
You mentioned a couple other verses. What are those? What do those fall in?
Well, number one is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor. And then the second one is Ephesians 4:29, and it says, Mike's Revised Standard Version of that says, don't talk ugly about people. Only use words that build people up. Don't use negative words. So those three are in my office. I can look at them anytime I need to and just get a little refresher. And so this third one then is try to help provide comfort to others.
Is there any other time in your life that you felt like was a really impactful on your faith or just your journey overall?
Having children really reinforced faith. It was kind of all about me, even though I went to church and did all the things and said all the words and led the prayers and all those things. But when you have children, you realize, okay, it's time. You gotta kind of grow up and, grab onto the handlebars and start riding and make it happen.
I'm fortunate I see your family most every Sunday. Yes. It's a wonderful thing that you're able to be here with all of them.
It's a blessing. We love that. We've watched them. We've held them all as infants, as babies. I have been blessed to be able to be there when they were born, shortly after they were born, and was able to just say a little silent prayer over each one of them. And, that was very meaningful. They're wonderful people in spite of my shortcomings. They've all turned out to be great people.
Is there anything, as you kind of look back on your life, like where you are now, that you might tell your younger self?
Yeah, there is. One of the things that I have started doing more publicly now is telling people that I love them. And I wish I had done that as a younger person. And that's in a very, hopefully, wholesome, spiritual way. But the ASL sign for I love you. And so I will show that to people, and I will tell them I love them. And I may not even know them very well. And I hope that doesn't freak them out. No one has told me that it has, so I'm hoping we're making some strides there. But it's really all about love at the end of the day. God's love for us, our response to God, loving Him, and loving our neighbors. And so, that's been reinforced through this past 10 years of having cancer.
Has the church or any people in your life stepped up for you guys in a way that's been memorable or recognizable?
They have. I probably won't use too many any names really, but we've had family and friends. We've had some ministry staff just step up and say, hey, we're here. Anytime someone says, hey, I'm praying for you. I had someone grab me a while back. We had just attended a funeral of all things. And this man came up to me, and we haven't seen them in a long time. And he came up and just hugged me and said, I want you to know. And he said he had a really quiet voice. And he got right in my ear and said, I want you to know I pray for you every single night. Well, I tell you, I did hug him, but I wanted to just hold that hug for a long, long time. That was so meaningful. So anytime someone will tell you that they're praying for you, receiving cards, a text, an email, any of those kind of things are very important. Try to pay that forward. I'm not nearly as good at that as I should be, but I try to write a few notes and send a few text messages here and there just to let someone know I have thought about you. I've lifted your name to the Father.
I think those texts, having received one, they really are meaningful, especially when you or a loved one are going through something. So switching just a little bit, I'd love to ask you about your wife, Julianne. How did you guys meet? How long have you been married?
We met at church in New Braunfels, and we've been married 52 years, and we've just kind of grown up together. She was really young. I was immature young, and we've just grown up together and faced adversity. We lost a couple of children through miscarriage, and so, we had to figure out who we were during those days. And then with our other two that we have raised, we've grown up together. And so we can finish each other's sentences. We always pick the same restaurant, those kind of things. It's pretty amazing.
Is there anything you might tell young couples that are kind of, in the throes of life, and just to encourage them in their marriage?
Yeah, to be open, to be honest, communicate. Don't be afraid to show your love just with a touch on the back, or helping wash the dishes, or, she will help me with a project in the garage or whatever. Just be together. Spend time together.
What do you hope that people would say about you when you're not around? You've talked so much about love and showing that to people.
Well, I try to be an encourager. Hopefully, when someone walks away after we've had any kind of a conversation, they would feel better. If they don't, I've probably not done my job right. So I want to be an encourager. One of the ways we end I send out a weekly email for the Touched by Cancer group. And every time I say, y'all are loved and we are praying. And that's all of us. That's the group. That's not just me. Everybody prays for everyone. And so we talk about that in our meetings and in our weekly communications. We talk about loving the other one and listening and letting everybody have their own story. We don't retell anybody else's story, but we encourage people through their stories.
Do you have a song or a hymn that just really touches your heart?
Ooh, boy, I love them all. I struggle to learn the new ones because I can't sing like I used to with the voice. I'll tell you one that the new version of Amazing Grace, I've been unchained. I've been set free. Being in ministry as I have all my career, I met a lady who had gotten out of prison, and she shared her testimony across the state, particularly with indigenous peoples. And so one night she was sharing her story, and she started singing that song, and she had a beautiful voice. But when it came to the part about my chains are gone, I've been set free, she would raise both hands in the air. Well, I couldn't see anything else after that because I'm weeping uncontrollably. And so every time we sing that song, I think of this person and her story and how she was redeemed from a past that just you would think was not possible. There were no possibility there. So I love that song, but I kind of like them all.
Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you think I should know?
One of the things we have with the Touched by Cancer group, we call it Wins, Wonders, and Worries. And that's our prayer list. And so if someone has good news, that's a win. If we're undergoing testing, that's a wonder. And then if we get some news, then that's a worry. So we ask people to share every week wins, wonders, and worries. The other thing that I can tell you about all the people in the group, one of the elders asked us one night, what do you want people to know that they don't know about people dealing with cancer? And the most common response to that was, we may look okay on the outside, we're probably not. That's not because we want to have a pity party. It's just that scanxiety, if you've heard that word, any visit you make, anytime you get a test, labs, any of those things, it's always in the back of your mind. And so if you know someone dealing with cancer, I would suggest that gently you would just say, I'm praying for you. Particularly if you know they're going for some testing or any of those kinds of things. Or if they get a little quiet, it's just a good thing to say, you're on my mind, I'm praying about you.
Mike, thanks so much for talking with us. Thanks for joining us. As we close out, I want to thank those who are helping behind the scenes. Robert Edwards, Andy Lashley, Stephen Maxwell, Matt Stansberry, and Simon Ross. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Mike Wiley. We'll see you next time.